Hey, we're
Welcome
live.
to we're live. Welcome to Command HQ, Friday the 13th edition. This is the Zap Attack Agent X here with not Beta Brock or extremely Beta Brock, whichever you prefer. What's up, Brock?
uh, Deep State Double Agent, Agent X. Hey,
Yep.
so you have some interesting theories about this Kohlberger case as well as some of the moon landing um, psyops that you claim have been potentially mischaracterized in the mainstream media. So I just kind of want to get your feel for what's going on, particularly the Kohlberger case, because we're seeing a Dateline NBC special, a 2-hour special nonetheless, about the case. And it's actually really fascinating because now the probable cause affidavit is out, as well as some of the statements from Kohlberger's extradition attorney in Philadelphia. So I kind of want to get your take on that, Agent X.
Yeah, man. It's there. I think 2020 is doing a special on it too. I don't know when it's airing, but it's it's uh it's wild. So far, I don't know if anything has been really prejudicial. I guess we're getting to the second part of it, but the fact that they're publicizing this, a Dateline piece on it, um, you have his former attorney divulging privileged conversations, the public defender in Pennsylvania, on a call with the News Nation. It's a lot of it just doesn't sit right. You know what I mean?
I pulled up this Daily Mail article which describes Kohlberger's public defender in Philadelphia, wherever, Pennsylvania, near the Poconos, whatever, um, talking about confidential conversations that he had that are protected by attorney-client privilege with Kohlberger, and the fact that he is now effectively invalidating that confidence in an article read by potentially hundreds of thousands of people tells you something. And I guess, what does that tell you, Agent X?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's things about this case that just don't add up when you think about them. When you try to kind of remove yourself from all the media persuasion, right? Um, you know, I mean, this guy had a master's degree. Koberger had a master's degree in uh, criminology, was in a PhD program, and a lot of the things that they're accusing him of seem really dunderheaded for anyone, but particularly somebody who's a criminology student. Um, you have his attorney coming out and kind of divulging privileged information. Um, you have these Dateline specials. Like, I don't know about you, but I get constantly recommended on YouTube videos about this. Even when I'm like, don't recommend. It's just it's too. I mean, I know it's a sensational case, but you know, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on in the world, and we never hear about it in the mainstream media. The other thing that they're trying to hype up is that missing mother too. Um, I don't know if you've seen that. There tons of um, there were tons of articles about it and lots of coverage. So I don't know, man. It seems funny. It seems off to me.
Okay, so a lot of things have been faked. I mean, if you think about faking the Iraq War, you think about faking some of the other things that we've seen lately, a lot of stuff is faked. And, unfortunately, not a huge section of the public gets to see how corrupt some of our judicial proceedings are. But now you're seeing this not only here in the US, of course, there's, third world countries that are basically banana republics that have long been fabricating evidence against political opposition. But, and just to kind of line this up with what you're seeing in Brazil right now, which they're basically engaging in a bunch of tyrannical measures vis-a-vis the judiciary. And so when you're tying that to see, okay, can that happen in the US? Well, of course, it happens all the time. And with the Koberger case, I guess for me, I'm always looking at like what the motive is, like what justification is this serving? And for me, like there are a lot of things that just simply do not make sense. Like why suddenly is this house in Idaho that this occurred at the most famous house in the US now? Like why do we continually have to see video footage of this house? It's like a townhouse condo. It's got 2 levels. And now we
Nancy
see just
Grace
a
was
bunch of dash cam footage. Like how
Nan,
many like
Nan, hold on, Nancy Grace
why is there
was
so
like
much dash cam footage and body worn footage from all these cops who have had noise complaints, and there's surveillance footage from food trucks? Like if they were setting something up, these are good breadcrumbs to lead into it.
well, dude, as I was trying to say, Nancy Grace is like live streaming from that house now. Um, I don't know, man. There's just a lot of weird, like I said, like you said, there's a lot of weird stuff. The fact that put out put out the bulletin about the Elantra and it wasn't, the years weren't correct on it.
Mhm.
Um, there's just tons of inconsistencies, the lack of motive, the lack of any motive whatsoever that's been disclosed so far. It's almost like it's meant to distract. What are they distracting from? Well, I mean, there's tons of things. We've got Davos next week, where they want to limit
Oh
by
yeah, yeah, yeah.
2030. They want to limit everybody to one short haul flight every 2 years. So that's all you'd get is one short haul flight every 2 years. So you're basically stuck wherever you live. Um, you have, Janet Yellen came out today and said that the United States was going to default. It was going to hit the debt ceiling early, and she was going to take extraordinary measures. It's very bizarre, dude. Somebody's hitting you up in let's show it. Diggs, by the way, man. Hey, what's up, G? What's up, homie G? But it's
Uh,
there's a lot of things to distract from right now, and I think things are only going to heat up between now and the summer. I mean, also you have the this egg crisis too, man. The price of eggs is like quadrupled.
I've
It's
seen that,
crazy.
yeah. And
I
that's
mean,
really important.
it's
It's an important topic for this section of the country, the Midwest, because there's a lot of dairy farms over here. And so, like, why are eggs suddenly so expensive? Like, why eggs? It seems like this has never occurred before. Maybe it has. I know that you could probably scale back to a time when in World War II we had rations for certain food items, but you never think of eggs as being a luxury item. Um, and why, why chickens? Are they creating some sort of carbon footprint? Are chickens the first to go on farms? I know that in the Netherlands they were trying to ban, and they have been, frankly, in the US as well, cows. But now they're also focusing on chickens. Like there's a lot of things that are weird here. And yeah, Davos is right now, I mean, 5,000 troops. I'm showing that little tweet here. But back to the Kohlberger case, I don't know, Agent X, do you remember the John Benet Ramsey case?
yeah. I mean, vaguely. I mean, not vaguely, but yeah. I mean, I was pretty young, but I do remember they sensationalize, like, you know, the media picks a case and they sensationalize it. Um, uh, you know, it's all a distraction. But yeah, what I do recall it. Continue your thought.
Well, okay, so the John Benet Ramsey case, um, it's tragic of a situation that was almost equally as publicized or sensationalized as this Koberger case is, except for the fact that the mainstream media had total control over the narrative. And now with a case that is just as big, you have live streaming, you have internet sleuths, and you have kind of a wider audience. But also what strikes me too is there's been so many angles to this story. Today, for example, I just learned something new, which is that Koberger had access to the crime lab at Washington State University as a PhD student. And so they're claiming that he had access to these live stream security cameras around campus, as well as in Pullman. Like the local police force apparently also streamed some cameras, and they also had like a huge inventory of body worn camera footage. I don't know the extent of that, but the article suggested that it was essentially national, maybe a shared database amongst PhD programs or academic programs around the country. And they're claiming that somehow this created or this environment was something that Kohlberger sought out to have, you know, higher level access to these materials, and whether or not having that access somehow enabled him to, you know, engage in these alleged acts that the mainstream media at least claims that he's done. So there's just a ton of angles here. And like, okay, so if that's true, then there's got to be some compliance there. Like there's got to be logs of his access and so on and so forth. But we don't have that. And again, that could probably all be collected by FOIA requests, right? Or am I wrong?
I don't know. You'd have to look at the law at Washington State, but no, it's just the idea, right? That you have a criminology student who would be so dunderheaded,
Mm-hmm.
the way that they're trying to paint him in the affidavit, and we don't really. I mean, everyone's going on. I mean, even if you look at some of the headlines out there, it's like it's presumed guilt. You know, it's instead of like Idaho alleged murderer, Idaho alleged killer, they always say Idaho killer, Idaho murderer. Um, you know,
True.
they've attributed guilt to this guy, and then you have these specialists going on TV and saying, "Oh yeah, it's terrible. It looks very bad. You know, this is a slam dunk case. Da 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 da. Based on this probable cause." After we don't know if they're considering one ping on these phones or two pings or you know 10,000 pings. Um, and you know they're not saying how they reconstructed it. You can't just take uh, the I guess the conclusion as truth. You have to in these cases evaluate how they reach that conclusion. There could be flaws, and you're not seeing that in the mainstream media at all. They're just boom. It's open and shut, and it could very well be open and shut. Um, it could
Well, I'm showing the
be.
probable cause affidavit here, and unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to review it to find the actual statements where they talk about the pings. But
It's at
when
the
we get back to
bottom.
the ping
It's the
situation,
last
it's at
four
the
or five
bottom.
pages. It's the last four or
Last
five
4 or 5.
pages.
Let's go. Geez, 19 pages. Let's see. Right here, maybe. Okay.
I think it's further up.
I mean, we could spend our time finding the precise statements inside the document turned off right here. Okay. Or we could just talk about it. And I would say that, so you were mentioning Agent X, that the pings are one of the primary ways that the FBI or the Moscow, Idaho police force used to um, or used in this probable cause statement to say that Koberger did this. And there's so many problems with this ping technology, the triangulation of it,
Hold on.
distances.
Let me read this statement to you. It says investigators found that the 845, that's the phone number that they're attributing to Koberger, so that the 845 phone number did connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14, 2022. But investigators do not believe the 8458 phone was in Moscow on that date. so so now they admit in this affidavit that it pinged a Moscow tower, but the phone, they don't think that the phone was there. Very bizarre.
Okay, so that would be like if he was in Pullman, somehow his phone connected to the cell tower 10 miles away in Moscow, Idaho.
Yeah. Yeah, they basically said, well, the phone pinged in
Does that
Moscow.
happen? I mean, I have no idea. Does
I
that
don't
happen
know.
typically with cell phones?
I don't know, but if you're a defense attorney, wouldn't you take that statement and just drive a fucking Mack truck right through it?
Well, you really got to know what you're doing here because you're probably never going to win that argument, but at the same time, like there's a lot of holes in that whole triangulation thing. Like even if he was in Moscow at the time period, it's hard to determine his distance proximate to um the house and a whole, I mean, he could be driving. I mean, he could be on the freeway. You really just don't know. Um and yeah, I think you were describing this, Agent X, like they're putting this in the probable cause affidavit, but whether or not they can actually prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and of course courts can, it's easy to rig all that crap, but to say that somehow that phone was actually in Koberger's possession, like how do you prove that? You know,
Well,
you really need
well,
to have like video footage of him with the phone in a time
well,
period relative to that.
well. I mean, it's circumstantial evidence, right?
Mhm.
Um, so you just all you can basically say is this phone belongs to him. We believe this phone is his for XYZ reasons, and this phone pinged at these times. But you have to remember too, man. They they have his phone, undoubtedly, right? Um,
Mhm.
so they're gonna pull all the GPS stuff off the phone. We know that Google fucking keeps that information anyways, so they wouldn't even necessarily need the phone. Um, so yeah, I mean, we're gonna know how accurate this stuff is in there. And it was interesting that they pushed the hearing, the probable cause hearing, 6 months. I don't think that they'll ever have it, right? He'll just waive it and go to trial. But they're pushing the case out as far as they can because there's probably a lot of evidence that they seized that hasn't been analyzed yet. And they got to have time for the police to analyze it, and the defense has to get witnesses. So I don't think they'll ever have the probable cause hearing. But what they will do is they're stalling out the time now, delaying, so they can get all this technical data back and basically see if it corroborates um, what they're alleging with the cell phone pings.
It's a legal tactic, actually, because what they're going to try and do is limit the scope of evidence that can be introduced at trial. And then they're going to sandbag the prosecutors with a bunch of requests. And then it's going to be a lot of motion practice, probably for what, like 8 months to a year before you actually get to the point where they're doing doing the trial. So, you know, it's going to be a year-long process here, but also the mainstream media is picking this up because they realized how much money and how high ratings were when the Johnny Depp trial was around, and when the whatchamadu the guy in Kenosha.
Well,
It's
isn't
the
it
whole
interesting, right?
trial they're
That
hyping up.
Well, here's what's interesting, right? Is like I sent you a video last night of a BLM co-founder. Did you watch that video
I did, yeah. We can.
where the LAPD basically tasered this guy to death as he's screaming, I know too much. They're gonna kill me. I know too much." Um, but you don't see any reporting on that. But there's three like middle America looking blonde, blonde hair, blue eyes. Well, I guess two, and then the other, uh, two of them who have all these photos and everything, and it's appealing, right? They kind of vet these stories before they push them. Like, if the mainstream media wasn't pushing this and publishing videos and videos and videos and articles and articles and articles, um, uh, we wouldn't be so intrigued by it. We wouldn't be fun. A 2-hour Dateline special. I mean, they're hyping this up, and it's a huge distraction.
Well, yeah. Well, and Dateline only does these specials after a case is over. This is one of
Well,
the few
usually,
cases where I've seen them do something when a case is pretty active,
but
pre-trial.
but the point that I was getting at, like, this is kind of a media darling case, right? With the good looking girls, college students, small town, uh, really to just freak people out, right? Um, and meanwhile, there's nothing. I mean, the BLM co-founder got George Floyded, and he even said it while he was, um, being arrested. He was, they're going to George Floyd me, and there's no media attention on it right now. So, I bet if Trump was in office, we'd have tons of media attention about it.
It's true. Yeah, I think that's 100% accurate about Trump. It seemed to have some sort of like reflective mirror that reflected back um on like, Black Lives Matters and some of these radical protest groups, including Antifa. I mean, Antifa got a ton of press coverage, but back to BLM, yes, you're absolutely right. And so then now, why is there's a
They're
that
apparently on Dayline right now. They're apparently really fucking slandering Koberger right now. I mean, like they're really pushing the narrative, right? Um, and it's really troublesome because there's a presumption of innocence, no matter how heinous, no matter how much the evidence points. There's a presumption of innocence, and nobody adheres to it anymore. It's crazy.
Well, Koberger did say through his attorney, and this is so weird that this got leaked to the media because, again, you'd assume that he would have his communication protected by attorney-client privilege. His attorney that handled the extradition process in Pennsylvania said that Koberger was adamant that he's not responsible for this. Does that give rise to alternate explanations? Who knows? Maybe there's
I
more to
don't
this
know.
case.
It's
PCI.
weird that his attorney's talking. The former attorney would divulge anything. He's on
Mm-hmm.
Dateline right now, bro.
Is he?
Yeah, he's talking on Dateline right
Oh,
now. Just
we are gonna
missed it.
try and pull it up, but the video is way too laggy. The live stream of Dateline, so plus we
It's
didn't want to get a
clear on
strike.
it's clear on mine. Man, I don't know, bro. It's just the attorney just said on there again that Koberger said he was innocent, um, and that he wanted to be exonerated. So I don't know, man.
Hey, do you want to talk about the moon landing?
No, I don't want to talk about the moon landing. Why don't we talk about your boy Klaus Schwab and what he's saying is going to be the next disaster here? I'm going to send it to you in the private chat. We can listen to your boy Klaus Schwab.
All right, let me pull it up here.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The
Oh my gosh.
COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
And these are the people who are wanting to eliminate gas stoves, right? They want to be able to quickly turn off your power, quickly limit your ability to be self-sustaining. It's terrible.
I mean, do you think that is the next level?
They always tell you the plan right before they do it. What was the COVID-19 thing? It was what was it called?
There were several. There's like bird flu.
No. The war games that they did.
Oh right, yeah,
uh,
they called it
what was it?
Coronas.
Burmese live.
It was like coronavirus or something.
No. They had a name for the conference. Hold on one second.
Yeah, they war game that in 2019, I believe in August.
No, I think it was in 2020. No, you're right. It was 2019. Yeah, it was. Fuck, what was it called? Burmese live streamed them all, or did commentary on all of them, and then they struck his channel.
Mm.
I don't remember what it was called, but yeah, man, they always tell you what they're gonna do before they do it.
Which do you think is more serious? Do you think what happened with the pandemic, or do you think something like this is more serious, where Klaus Schwab is describing, a cyber attack?
I don't know.
And
It,
where
it would
are these
depend.
cyber attacks directed at? Like, he's very vague about it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? How are you going to hit hospitals? You know, what did he list out? He said hospitals, transportation.
I mean, we
I
can
mean,
play it
really,
again here.
a comprehensive cyber attack. In order to do that, in order to hit everything at once, right? You'd have to hit the power grid.
Mm.
But you also have to remember, like, if hospitals have generators, so they could stay up for a few days. So how long is such an outage going to be? I think it's a little far fetched to say we're going to get a comprehensive cyber attack where they independently hack transportation, they independently hack banking, they independently hack hospitals. I think instead what they would go after is something that has a common string, which would
Centralized
be
or industrialized.
they could. I mean,
I harken back to
take out
those Siemens
the they could take
controllers.
out
Yeah.
well, they could also take out the some of the infrastructure for the internet, because a lot of calls now are voice over IP, so that would be telecommunications, taking out the ability to communicate. You'd basically shut down banking, you'd shut down transportation, um, to a large degree. So it would have to be something that is common string. So it'd have to be an actual attack on the power grid or an actual attack on the infrastructure, the internet infrastructure.
Do you think banking is fairly centralized?
Yeah, I mean, I think big banking is right, and it's mostly regulated or mostly centralized through the Federal Reserve. Dude,
Do you think that
Dateline, hold on. Dateline is just that guy who walks across the football field. Now they're fucking besmirching him, bro.
what are they saying?
They
You covered
fucking
that a few
held
days
his
ago.
yeah, they put the photo up for a while.
Really? Did they say that was Koberger? Or did they
I don't know.
flag
I
it as
wasn't I could only
a
see
false
it.
allegation?
I could only see it. But I think that I didn't hear all the audio, but I think that they were
They were insinuating that was Koberger.
yeah, they were insinuating, yeah.
Of course. Conspiracy theory. The real conspiracy theory.
Now they're
Mainstream
talking
media.
about podcast hosts on there. These true crime podcasters.
Yeah, they're going after him, right? They always, you notice too, in all these big stories, they devote a portion to it to attacking just like the independent, internet journalist.
What's funny there? Oh, excuse me. They're really like relying heavily on these internet sleuths, right?
Mhm.
For at least for this piece.
Generally, they're attacking them or denigrating them in some way.
Not re- Oh yeah,
Lately.
if you pull it up now, dude. Do you still have it on your tab?
Yeah. Let me try and pull it
Yeah,
up
it's
here.
live right now with the. You have to refresh.
Or infection. It's what
Nah, refresh. Go to at the top. You have to refresh the page. That's going to be like an hour old.
They're looking seriously at another possible sighting
Here we go.
of Brian on a Facebook account bearing the name Papa Roger and this image.
Oh,
Who's
you
Papa
missed it.
Roger?
Amateur sleuths and police
Oh, man.
investigators are sifting through old posts.
You missed it.
Oh,
bro.
wow. They're
Oh,
claiming that this.
Papa Roger
Wait. They're claiming that Papa Roger is Koberger.
yeah, I think that's been disproven. But they had
Okay,
the
they're
guy
bringing
walking
up some
across the field.
conspiracy theories. Really?
Yeah, they had the guy walking
Well,
across
I mean,
the field.
I can't go back in this
Oh,
video player.
don't worry about it then. Yeah, it's they're really hyping up these theories and these conspiracies.
Yeah, why is that? Is that because live streams are popularizing sort of like this? I hate to say it, but like Asperger's level of digging down or doing deep dives into some of these details, particularly these, wild internet theories about how cases evolve. Is that kind of, and it gets more attention and gets more clicks, gets more viewers? Is that kind of why, Dateline is doing this, or the mainstream media in general? And who is this guy, for example, who always does these Datelines? This reporter. He goes to all of these cases, and remember, it always follows the same flow. They talk up the usually women or families who are the alleged victims in these cases. And then they're always focusing and targeting like the one guy who they claim did this. And then they bring up every single, skeleton in his closet. It's kind of funny how that works.
Yeah. No, you're right, dude. It's it's not adding up, man. There's just too much stuff that doesn't
What do
add up.
what do you think
with this
happened
media
then? Like, what do you, I mean, it happened, but
Right.
the fact that they're trying to place the blame on Kohlberger is kind of the
Well, they just presumed his guilt, right? I don't know. But the fact that they're kind of leaning on these internet conspiracy theorists, I don't know. I think that they're actually trying to kind of hype this up. I think that, that's the way they painted the January 6th protesters, is sort of these internet conspiracy theorists, and they're kind of mainstreaming this idea of conspiracy theorists now, right?
Well, I don't know. They're also potentially trying to like seed live streamers with content. And by talking about live streamers or wild internet conspiracy theorists, it gets more people on the internet talking about it. And since NBC is such a widely known mainstream media source, then it feeds, their content, their specials. I mean, for example, we're watching Dateline right now. I mean, we watched a small clip, fair use, and we're adding commentary to this. But I mean, even, you and I are getting into this Agent X, and this is rare because I rarely watch NBC, but I can remember watching NBC way, way, way more often, especially when I was much younger. But is this a new sort of marketing policy, is to try and get as many people on the internet to talk about this case and get more like, live stream? This is kind of a far fetched marketing theory, but it just seems, you never used to hear about that. I mean, if they referred to the internet, it would always be some crazy, inane, statement on the internet. But now it's all about, people live streaming these cases. And again, like all these different angles that have now built up the hype for this Kohlberger case. And it's really not about these women anymore. It's more about Kohlberger. No one even knows, who the alleged victims, well, I shouldn't say alleged, I'm sorry, who the victims are in this case. They know who Kohlberger is, though.
Yeah, it's just weird, man. It's just there's so much pushing of content about this case, and if you look at like News Nation, that's all they're reporting on. And it seems like News Nation, their videos are getting pushed heavy on YouTube right now, as opposed to like
how
MSNBC
News Nation too has come again, like, Nexstar Media. So Nexstar owns all these little local affiliates around the country, these little television stations, and that's how they're feeding and seeding content. Because you notice too, they're using local anchors much of the time, local anchors from local stations. Yep. And occasionally, like, they have a few full-time anchors, and that's it. And that's kind of how they're trying to keep their costs down. But it also allows them access, like, they basically have an office in every major city around the country because they own so many stations. CNN doesn't have that. And that's the idea behind News Nation, and that's the idea around Nexstar.
Yeah.
Not many people know that, though. Not many people even know that News Nation is owned by Nexstar, or that Nexstar owns all these affiliates around the country.
Yeah, I know. And I
know that because I don't put this on my resume or anything, but I was on a team that built the content management system for Nexstar, like, I don't know, 8 years ago. I did a contract for about 6 or 8 months.
Dude, it's funny. They're advertising for Ancestry.com during this special.
That's hilarious.
They have commercials for Ancestry.com. Fucking crazy, man. Dude, you got Papa Roger up there. No, you're right, bro. I really don't know what to say about it.
Hey, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about, if I can find that tab here. Let me switch. Shoot. I'm gonna switch my browser. Okay, dude, there's so many topics that I added to the board. I mean, the BLM co-founder, we have cash use up 15% over the past year because people are concerned about cryptocurrencies and FedCoin, and people understand that cash is really privacy government. We have the Biden docs situation we didn't even talk about. I mean, what do you think of the Biden docs? We got the Rick and Morty creator.
Dude, I sent you the video of Biden. Ducey really pressed him on that and said, why would you keep classified documents in a garage? And he said, well, basically Biden's answer was, I also keep my Corvette in there and it was locked. It's not like they were laying on the street. Like, these are top secret classified documents.
Here, let's play it.
Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street. But at any rate,
You got to go back like a few seconds.
yes, as well as my Corvette. This week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street. But at any rate,
That's his response.
as well as my Corvette.
Man, it's so
earlier this
bad.
week,
And there's an article that came out today that Hunter Biden was living in the house when those documents were there.
Oh yeah. What do you think about that?
Wow.
Surprising.
Well, he was involved with the UPenn Biden Center, and there's articles out there where they've found that I think China donated $52 million to that Biden to the Biden Center.
Oh, really?
And Hunter Biden was involved with it, and now we, have classified documents found in an office for the Biden Center. It's crazy.
Classified documents found both in his University of Pennsylvania office as well as his house, right? In his garage where his
I think
Corvette
they found them 3 places.
3 places now. I thought it was just 2.
No, I think it was the UPenn Center in DC, the one at Wharton, or not at Wharton, but the one at the University of Pennsylvania, and then at his house.
Well, you've also seen the mainstream media talk about the differences between Trump and Biden with respect to these classified docs, right?
Sorry, say that again.
I've also seen fact checking and articles talking about the difference between Biden documents, and Trump's.
Here, let's let me see if I can find that Biden, what's it? Biden hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here. I'm sending it to you in the chat. It's the biggest gaslighting campaign I've seen. These media outlets, I just sent it to you, trying to downplay Biden's discovering the classified documents in Biden's possession, and the ones that were found in Trump's.
Gangel, that 10 documents with classification markings were found in November, less than a week before the midterm elections.
Oh, yeah. So the other piece of this is that they didn't report on this before the midterm elections, and Snowden put out a tweet talking about that. But I think that we had talked about that way before that. I think that was one of our first talking points, was like,
they withheld it.
With this. Yeah, it's incredible. Like, and the Justice Department isn't partisan. Come on.
The papers were dated from 2013 to 2016 when Biden was vice president.
Now, the source also says that among the classified materials were U.S. intelligence memos and briefings.
Watch how they downplay the fact that the classified documents were in Biden's. It was with documents about Biden's funeral.
Were discovered. So just walk us through that.
So just big picture for context, I think it's important to state that almost all the papers in the office were personal.
See,
They
Oh,
included
okay. They're
materials
personal.
about Beau Biden's funeral arrangements, condolences.
What that's the first thing they bring up is Beau Biden's funeral arrangement to make you
well,
feel
they're trying to
sympathetic.
make you, yeah, they're trying to make you sympathize with Biden and downplay. Oh, this was just a mix-up.
And remember when Biden, that Afghanistan withdrawal, the fiasco that was, and when he met with some of the parents of the dead soldiers, that was like the first thing that he brought up was that his son, who served in Iraq, died of brain cancer, and he tried to say that somehow, he died in combat or something. And as tragic as it is to die of brain cancer, these parents lost a son or daughter in a much more inhumane circumstance anyways.
Well, they claim that he got brain cancer because of the burn pits
Yeah. Yep.
in Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever he was at.
Reference material. In fact, that's why a personal lawyer to Biden was going through the material and cleaning it out so that it would remain.
So that's
Dude,
why.
you just stopped it. You stopped it too soon.
All right.
Confidential. My understanding is the lawyer is going through the boxes. He sees a
No, stop.
mark stamped on the front, VP.
Oh, stopped
You
it.
got to go back a little bit, because that's the most important part is she's trying to lie and say, "Oh, they had a lawyer in there looking through these documents because they wanted them to remain confidential." Just because an attorney looks at them doesn't make them confidential. That's weird.
Sure.
A manila envelope, mark stamped on the front, VP personal, which may
Okay, so then she says, which makes
explain how it got packed up. He opens it up. He sees classified, immediately closes the folder again.
Okay. So
that didn't even make sense, right? She said it was in a manila envelope and they pulled it out. And then he opened the folder and it said classified. But if she pulled it out of a manila envelope, it would say classified on the front page of the folder. That didn't even make sense. But she's trying to downplay and saying, she'll say, it was just an honest mistake. It was a mix-up. It was in a manila envelope labeled VP personal. So they just thought it was personal items. But wouldn't that be the way if you were going to smuggle documents out of classified documents out of the White House, wouldn't you put them in something like, something marked, personal documents or something like that? And so no one would think much of it.
Oh yeah. Yep. Exactly.
You wouldn't carry them out of there in a fucking folder that said, top secret documents. You'd put something on there like, personal documents.
Oh yeah, you'd be like family photos or something.
Yep, exactly what he did.
Should I play the rest of this?
If you, yeah, because the Ellie Honig stuff is there at the end.
And calls for help.
Okay, so this is a long video though. It's 7 minutes. Where's your boy Honig? Right here.
No, keep going. Yeah, right there.
And of course, we've just been through this with former President Trump, how they compare to the documents found at Mar-a-Lago.
Sure.
Would you so Honig right there, I mean, he's always trying to put off this sort of like alpha presence. Do you think he appears very confident here?
No, he looks like a fucking chode, man.
Okay.
Sure, Victor. So let's understand, first of all, how did we get here? Now, Joe Biden, of course, left office as vice president back in January of 2017. After that, he took a position with something called the Biden Center at the University of Pennsylvania. It was mostly an honorary academic type of title. Now, he had
leaving
an
out the
office
Chinese investment
in Washington, D.C., which he left in 2019. Joe Biden left, but his stuff stayed behind. And now, just 2 months ago, in November of this year, Joe Biden's attorneys were going through those documents and they found some of these classified documents. Now, there are some vital differences between the Biden documents and Donald Trump's documents, starting with the sheer number of documents. As Jamie just reported, 10 documents found in Biden's office, over 200 classified documents.
This video is before they found the additional
Also, the
documents.
classification level. Now, this is actually the same. Both Joe Biden and Donald Trump's documents included documents at the highest level of classification, what we call SCI sensitive.
You notice too how they're layering this to like completely lessen the impact. So they first talk about the 10 documents. Oh, by the way, we found a bunch more at this other location, and it's about 100 documents. So
sensitive, compartmented information. Now, this is what, in a prosecutor's view, is the single most important differentiator: knowledge and intent. Now, thus far, Joe Biden's people have denied that he knew anything about this. DOJ surely is going to investigate that. There's nothing to indicate to the contrary. Donald Trump has openly admitted that he knew he had these documents at Mar-a-Lago. He's offered up various other defenses. So he clearly knew. There's still a question about whether he had criminal intent.
okay, I'm going to stop it right there, and I'm going to say that there's also another aspect of this where Trump has, as a defense, said that he had the right to declassify the documents that he had in his possession. And based on what I currently know about what he said that by taking them from the White House while he was president, he classified the documents. I have no knowledge of whether or not he went through any other process to declassify those documents. Now,
I don't think there's a process.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what kind of executive order outlines any sort of process that the president has to do to declassify documents when they're taking the documents back to their personal residence? And the other piece of this here is that apparently in 2009, Obama signed an executive order that allowed the vice president, and again, at that time, that was Biden, to declassify documents. And that was,
I don't know, man. I don't know of any. I haven't heard about that.
Intent.
Play the rest
That's
of
going to
this.
be crucial for prosecutors. And then finally, there's compliance. As Jamie just said, as soon as Joe Biden's lawyers found this, they notified the archives and turned over the classified documents. Of course, Donald Trump's team was much
They
more
only hid it from the public for 3 months.
Obstruction of justice.
Well, speaking of that investigation.
Yeah, for obstruction of justice, you would think that, especially considering that there's been so many allegations of rigging elections, and then they obstructed the public's view of the fact that Biden and literally his entire staff had stonewalled the public regarding these documents, where they were. And if you remember, too, they constantly play that Corvette video where Biden is taking his Corvette out of his garage. And then there's in the background those boxes where these documents lived. And so many people had access to that garage. I mean, cameramen, reporters, anybody had access to that garage. And also, the other thing here is that the documents that they suggest that Trump took are like, related to a national secret about France, or there's rumors that involves, the French nuclear response in the event that something happens, stuff like that. And then you don't hear that about the Biden docs. You hear that these are not very, sensitive, personal, yada, yada, yada. Again, downplaying and lessening it.
Yeah.
Wow. What other stories you want to touch here?
Dude, I'm about ready to pass out, bro. I think we got to shut down the Friday the 13th stream.
Anything you want to say before we go? Certainly, if you're out there viewing, please do subscribe to our channel and like the video. That would be amazing.
Yeah, man. Dude, yeah, and the moon landing was fake.
All right. Have a good weekend.
All right, later.